Okay, so let's look at 13.1. Let's do an example. This is from practice quiz 4. It's number 1. It says make level curves using the given values, then sketch the graph of the surface. So here's our surface here, and here's our values: x equals 0, y 0, z1, z4, z minus 1, and z negative 4. So let's do x0 first. So put 0 in place of x here. Let's do that. Doing that, we get, so again, putting 0 in place of x here, we'll have z equals 0 squared minus y squared, so z equals negative y squared. So let's graph this level curve now. So this is going to be a parabola opening downward on the zy axis. Let me graph it here. So graphing it, so saying this is the z-axis here, this is the y-axis. The x-axis will be sticking out of the board here, but we're looking at when x is 0. So this will be a level curve. It's going to be this parabola opening downward. So that's a level curve at x equals 0. Okay, let's next do when y is 0. We're going to stick 0 in place of y over here. Let's do that over here. So we get then, so putting 0 in place of y, we'll get z equals x squared minus 0 squared, so z equals x squared. And that's going to be a parabola on the zx axis opening upward. So let me graph it over here. So it looks like this. So you have your z and your x here, parabola opening upward. This is when y is 0. So again, you can think of the z-axis coming out this way. It's when y is 0. Okay, let's next do when z is 1. Okay, so let's do that. So putting 1 in place of z up here, we'll have then 1 equals x squared minus y squared. This is actually a hyperbola. So let's solve it for x squared. So let's add y squared to both sides. So adding y squared to both sides, we'll have then 1 plus y squared equals x squared. Now let's take the square root in both sides. So taking square root, that's my symbol for square root. So taking square root here, we'll have x then equals plus or minus square root of y squared plus 1. Okay. Now, the smallest that y squared can be is 0, because you're squaring a number. So the smallest this can be, the square root guy can be over here, which is square root of 1. So plus or minus. So you have a, let me do the graph and I'll explain how I got it now. So we first graph it here. So I claim it will be two sidewise parabolas here, one starting at 1, one starting at minus 1. Again, it's because the smallest this can be is when y is 0. So when you put 0 there, you'll end up with 1 and minus 1 here. So, let me just explain how I got this. Let's stick in, say, plus or minus square root of 3 for y. So say choosing y to be plus or minus square root of 3 up here. So plugging it up here, let's see what we get for x. So we'll get this then. So plus or minus square root of plus or minus square root of 3 squared plus 1. So squaring the plus or minus square root of 3 just becomes 3. And 3 plus 1 is 4. So it'll be plus or minus square root of 4 here, which is plus or minus 2. So let me write that here. So we get then x is plus or minus 2. So let me put those points over on our graph here then, so you can see. Okay, so when y is square root of 3 or minus square root of 3, the x value is plus or minus 2. So you'd have 2 here, 2 here, minus 2 and minus 2. So you can see that it's going to be sideways parabolas then from these points. You should convince yourself anyway. Okay, so that's our level curve when z is 1. Let's do now z is 4 next. Okay, so let's do that. Actually, I'm going to erase some stuff and we'll summarize what we have, then we'll go on to 4. Okay, so let me erase some things. Okay, summarizing, we have these level curves that we've done 3. We still have 3 more to go. Let's do z equals 4 next. So let's stick 4 in place of z here. So doing that, we get then 4 equals x squared minus y squared. Just like the z equal 1 case, we're going to solve this for y. So we're going to solve for x, add y squared to both sides and then take square root. So doing that, we get, okay, so adding y squared, then taking square root, we get an x equals plus or minus square root of y squared plus 4. And this looks like the last one we just did, except now we have a 4 instead of a 1. So again, the smallest y squared can be a 0, and the square root of 4 is 2. So it's going to look like this guy up here, except it's going to be out of 2 and minus 2. So let me do it over here. So the graph would look like this. Again, you like this guy just moved out 1. So it'd be 2 and minus 2 here. Alright, let's do next z equals minus 1. So let's put minus 1 in place of z over here. So doing that, we get then minus 1 equals x squared minus y squared. This time I'm not going to solve for x, I'm going to actually solve for y. So let's first subtract x squared on both sides. So subtracting x squared on both sides, we get negative x squared minus 1 equals negative y squared. Then I'm going to multiply both sides by minus 1, which is going to change all the signs here. So let's multiply by minus 1. So again, multiplying by minus 1 just changes the signs. And lastly, taking square root, we get then, we get y equals plus or minus square root of x squared plus 1. Okay, the smallest x squared can be is 0, so therefore it'll be square root of 1 in that case. So it looks like, actually, if you go back and look at how we got this one up here, that was x equals plus or minus square root of y squared plus 1. So the x and y are just switched around. So the graph of this guy will look like this, but just turn 90 degrees. So let's do that, say, over here. Okay, so it looks something like this. This is z then being minus 1. Okay, and lastly, let's do z equals negative 4 now. So I'm going to erase this guy here. Let's do z equals negative 4. Okay, so letting z be minus 4 here, you have minus 4 equals x squared minus y squared. Okay, so this one we're going to solve for y also. So you're going to subtract x squared and do what we did in the one before. So I'll just give you the answer here. So solving for y, we get y equals plus or minus square root of x squared plus 4. And that's going to look like this guy over here too, except instead of starting at 1 and minus 1, it'll be starting at 2 and minus 2. So let me graph this guy right here. Okay, so we get this then. Okay, so we've got all our level curves now over here. Now our job is to try and sketch the graph of the surface, this guy here. So let me erase this now and draw an x, y, z coordinate system, and then we'll try and sketch the graph of the surface. Okay, so I've drawn my x, y, z here. So the x-axis this way, y, and z. Let's do this guy now. So let's graph that guy in this over here. So let me do it here. I'll explain how I'm doing it. So here's this graph right here. So how I did it was, you think of taking this guy, lifting it up, turning it sideways, and sliding it in. Because it's when x is 0. So x is 0 is here. So it's in the z, y plane. So it's in there. So again, imagine lifting this up and sliding it in. So this might help. So there's your parabola there. Oh, sorry, yeah, it should be y here, not x. 1 second. Okay, I fixed it here. So you got your z, y, probably opening downward. So thinking of this, you're taking it and sliding it in here. So sliding it in there. That's how I got this guy here. Okay, and let's next do this one. So it'll be this guy here. Again, how you can think about it is, so here's the parabola. So it's like you're taking it up here and sliding it in this way. What you've done here. Okay, now let's do, say, this one next. So first I'm going to mark the z equals 1 on up here. So I've marked 1 here on the z, because the z equals 1 up here. Then I have to take this and put it over here at z equals 1. It's kind of tricky to do. Let me draw it in and I'll explain. So it looked like this. Again, here's the picture of it. Say here, you're taking this and you're sliding it in right here. So you put it right there. So you're taking this and lifting it and putting it at z equals 1. Okay, let's do z equals 4 next over here. So let me put 4 on the z-axis here. So put 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to draw this picture, turn it sideways and put it over here. So let me do the picture. So it looked like the following. So it looked like this and this. Okay, now let's do these guys. So this one, z is -1, so let me put -1 all the way through -4 down here. Okay, so I've put the tick marks on the z-axis. So -1, -2, -3, -4. So let's do this guy now. So it's like you're turning it and putting it here at 1. So let me grab that. Okay, so doing the z equal -1, it's a tricky enough one to draw, so you have to take this, pick it up, and put it over here. It would look something like this. The guy in the front and one in the back, kind of hard to see, but it'll be in there. This guy here, the back. Okay, and lastly, let's do this one. So it's going to be the same looking, except down at -4 here. Let me draw it in. So it looks something like this. Okay, now our job is to make it look three-dimensional, the surface. So let me draw in a few lines, and to make it, this is hard enough to visualize how it would look. But let me draw in a few lines here so you can kind of see how it would look in 3 dimensions. So I drew a line here and here. So it looked like a saddle, like a horse saddle. Okay. So again, it looks like a saddle, but the proper name for it, it's called a hyperbolic paraboloid. Okay. So we're done with this question then, and we're done with the section also. So let's leave it there, the video.